Come with me. Here, we treat you like a queen. Don't stand there. One of those clumsy people could knock you down." Grace Miller said it loudly in the middle of the Oaks dining room. Half the guests pretended they had not heard her. The other half had heard every word and turned with the eager expression people wear when they sense a scandal. The young waitress had left 2 trays behind and gone straight to the elderly woman who had been standing by the entrance for 5 minutes, in everyone's way and invisible to everyone. No one wanted to notice her. She had arrived alone at 2:15 in the afternoon. She moved slowly, leaning on a dark wooden cane whose handle had been worn smooth by the years. She wore an ivory sweater patched at one elbow, a long skirt, and old black low-heeled shoes polished with almost painful care. Her grey hair was tied in a tight bun. She had no designer handbag and no makeup, only the face of an 80-year-old woman and bright eyes that age had failed to put out. She stood by the door, searching for someone to serve her, while the restaurant flowed around her like water around a stone. Victor Hayes, the floor manager, looked at her once and then looked away. It took him almost 2 minutes to approach. When he finally did, he wore the plastic smile people use when they want to remove someone without appearing rude. "Excuse me, do you have a reservation?" "No, son," she replied with perfect calm. "Do I need a reservation to eat at this hour?" "Yes, we are fully booked. But I can see an empty table by the window." "That table is taken." "I see. Perhaps you could come back later," Victor added. "Or maybe there is a cafe nearby that would suit your tastes better." "Suit my tastes better," the old woman repeated slowly, allowing those words to settle in the air. "I understand, son. I understand perfectly." The restaurant was not full. The table by the window had been empty for half an hour. But Victor had calculated in a split second how much that woman would leave as a tip. Nothing. And how long she would occupy a table during the lunch rush. Far too long. The old woman did not argue. She nodded slowly, as though recording something inside herself. At a nearby table, 2 women with designer handbags hanging from their chair backs glanced at her before returning to their plates. "Poor thing," one said, stirring her salad. "They should tell beggars to stay outside. They should never have let her in. People like that scare customers away." "Don't even look at her," the other replied. "Once, I gave someone like that a coin and she clung to me like gum. Learn from me. Do not even make eye contact." "You are right. Let's change the subject." They both laughed. The old woman heard them. She heard every word. Not a single muscle moved in her face. She looked ahead, held upright by her cane and those alert eyes, deciding whether she should keep waiting or whether it was time to leave. Then Grace appeared from the far end of the dining room, weaving between tables with a water pitcher in her hand. "Good afternoon," she said when she reached her, smiling with her whole face. "Did you come alone? Is someone serving you, or did they forget about you?" "They forgot about me, dear." Something trembled in the old woman's eyes when she heard the word spoken with respect instead of impatience. "But don't worry," she continued. "I do not think there is a place for me here." "What do you mean, no place? Come on, lean on me. Don't be embarrassed. Victor, I will take care of her." "Grace," Victor muttered through his teeth as he walked over, "the table by the window is occupied." "Occupied for whom? I have seen it empty all morning." "Grace." "It is occupied for this lady, who arrived before the air itself," she answered, holding his gaze until the floor manager snorted and stepped aside. Then Grace turned tender again. "There we are. Come with me. The sun will reach you at that table, and you will be more comfortable. They will scold you because of me, dear. Let them scold me. This is what I am paid for, to serve. We will go slowly, all right? There is no rush. I will walk at your pace." For a moment, the old woman stared at the outstretched hand with the expression of someone who had not been offered anything in a very long time. Then she took it. They crossed the dining room slowly. Grace adjusted her long strides to the woman's short ones and stopped whenever she stopped. She did not pull her along or hurry her. She guided her between the tables as though she were carrying something precious. The cane tapped against the marble in a slow, stubborn rhythm, and Grace moved to that same rhythm even though no one had asked her to. "Here is your table, She placed the cane within the woman's reach instead of pushing it aside. She pulled out the chair, laid a napkin across her lap, and asked, What would you like? It is hot outside, so I will bring you some water first. Hibiscus iced tea, if you have it. But let me look at the menu first, dear. I do not want to get myself into trouble. I think this place may be too expensive for me. Let me tell you about it. I will be honest because I like you. The main dishes are very expensive. Do you see this one? My goodness. I could eat at home for a week with that money. Exactly. Do not even look at it. But we have homemade cream of corn soup with bread. It is filling, delicious, and truly satisfying. The hibiscus tea is on the house. I will bring you the soup, plenty of bread, and the drink. You will eat well and your wallet will not suffer. How does that sound? Can you really arrange that? You will not make me spend more. You will not spend a cent more than you should. Leave it to me. The old woman looked at her for a long time and smiled. It was a small smile, the kind that hides more than it reveals. I can see that you know how to do business, dear. Then bring me your soup and your bread. I will bring it hot. And do not get up, all right? If you need anything, call me. By the way, what is your name, dear, so I will not have to shout for you? Grace. Grace Miller, at your service. Grace. It is a beautiful name. It suits you perfectly. My mother says she did not choose it by accident. I will be right back. Do not move. Grace headed toward the kitchen, pleased. She had no idea that everything she had just done without thinking, calculating, or expecting a reward was the first part of a test she did not even know existed. No one at the Oak noticed the most important scene of that day. No one except a man standing still in the half-open kitchen door, holding a cloth napkin in his hand. His name was Daniel Bennett. He was 41 years old and he owned the Oak. He recognized the old woman the instant he saw her enter. Of course he did. She was his mother. He nearly ran to embrace her, scold her for going out alone dressed like someone with nothing, and seat her at the best table in the restaurant. But something in the way she waited and watched stop him. Daniel knew that calm. It was the calm Evelyn Bennett had whenever she was evaluating someone. So he remained hidden, curious, unwilling to ruin whatever she had planned. From there, he watched Victor try to send her away, and his blood began to boil. He watched Grace put down the pitcher and cross the room. He saw her outstretched hand, her steps adapting to the old woman's pace. He saw his mother accept a stranger's hand with a trust he had not seen in her for years. Daniel stepped out of the kitchen and approached Victor, who was pretending to be busy a few feet away. Victor, the waitress at the window table. What is her name? The floor manager went pale. The owner never asked for a waitress's name, and when he did, it usually meant someone was about to lose a job. Grace, sir. Grace Miller. Did she do something wrong? I told her she seated that lady without permission and you decide who gets to eat in my restaurant and who does not. No, sir. I was only protecting the atmosphere. The atmosphere. Daniel stared at him. That young woman did nothing wrong. Leave her alone and listen carefully. The window table is on my account. Everything the lady orders, including coffee. And I do not want either of them to find out. Is that clear? Yes, sir. And the next time you see someone waiting at the door of my restaurant, treat them like the best customer of the day, even if they arrive in sandals. Do you understand? More than clear, sir. Daniel returned to his corner and watched the whole lunch. He saw Grace come back with the soup and bread. He saw her break the bread into smaller pieces before serving it, without being asked. Old hands have trouble with hard bread, and only someone who has cared for an elderly person would know that. Grace came by from time to time, not to rush the woman, but to talk to her. Did you like the soup? It is delicious, dear. Did you make it? No, I only serve it. But I asked the cook to add a little extra cream because you are a special customer. Special? I am the poorest person here today. The most special. I will warm up some more bread for you. When the old woman accidentally dropped her spoon, Grace picked it up, brought her a clean one, and did not show the slightest trace of annoyance. Not even the tiny, involuntary expression that escapes some people when an elderly person inconveniences them. Oh, dear, forgive me. I am so clumsy. You are not clumsy. It slipped from your hand. That happens to everyone. I will bring you another one and put a napkin underneath so it will not slide again. She treats her like a queen, Daniel thought. And she does not know that she is serving the owner of all this. She treats her like a queen because she thinks she is poor. When the old woman finished eating and tried to stand, Daniel witnessed a scene that would follow him even in his dreams. Grace dropped what she was doing, left 2 tables that were already asking for their checks, and offered her hand once more. Wait for me, ma'am. Do not stand up by yourself. Lean on me. I will walk you to the door. Do not trouble yourself, dear. You have already done enough. It is no trouble at all. We will go slowly. I will walk at your pace. Once again, she matched her steps to the older woman's and led her patiently to the exit. Before letting her go, she adjusted the sweater that had slipped from her shoulders, the way a granddaughter might adjust her grandmother's clothes. At the door, the old woman took Grace's hand in both of her wrinkled hands. May God repay you, dear. You do not know the good you have done me today. And I am not talking about the soup. What other good do you mean, Do not worry. One day, you will understand. The old woman squeezed her hand. What did you say your name was? Grazie, Mum. Grace Miller, at your service. Grace, the woman repeated, as if committing the name to memory. Come whenever you want. Ask for me and I will serve you. Do not stop coming because you feel embarrassed. There is food here for everyone. The old woman left slowly, her cane tapping against the marble. Before stepping outside, she turned around one last time. She did not look at Grace. She looked toward the shadowed corner where her son stood and held his gaze for only a moment. She had seen him from the beginning. A mother always sees her son. A deep, satisfied smile appeared on her face. She did not need to say anything. That smile said, "This is it." Daniel knew that smile. It appeared whenever something perfectly matched his mother's expectations. A shiver ran down his spine as he realized that both of them had seen the same thing in Grace, even though neither one had gone looking for it. Victor approached, still nervous, the check from the window table in his hand. Sir, should I charge the lady, or did you say it was on the house? Victor, did you not hear me? Yes, sir, forgive me. The thing is, she asked how much she owed, and I did not know what to tell her. What did you say? I told her soup was a gift from the restaurant. Her eyes filled with tears, sir. I was even ashamed that I had not served her myself. Then let that shame serve you for a long time, Victor, Daniel said without taking his eyes off Grace. We will see whether you learn after this whom you leave waiting by a door. That evening, Evelyn sent for her son at the Bennett family home. Daniel arrived expecting a lecture. Instead, he found his mother in her usual armchair, dressed elegantly again, with a silver-handled cane leaning beside her and a cup of linden tea in her hands. She wore the satisfied expression of a cat who had just gotten exactly what it wanted. I already know you saw me, she said without even greeting him. At the restaurant, spying on your mother from the kitchen, like you used to do when you were a boy and wanted to find out what gift had been hidden for you. Mom, may I ask what you were doing dressed like that? Someone could have robbed you. You could have fallen in the street. You were alone, without a driver, dressed like a woman with no money. Do you have any idea how frightened you made me? They tried to throw me out. That is what happened, Evelyn replied with devastating calm. Your floor manager, the one in the vest, wanted to put me out on the street like a dog, in my own restaurant. I will fire him tomorrow. You will fire no one. Evelyn took a sip of tea. I do not blame him, son. That is how the world treats poor old women. I only wanted to see it with my own eyes, and I saw everything exactly as it is, without decoration. Why, Mom? What were you looking for when you went out like that? Evelyn set down her cup and looked at him with those eyes that age had failed to dim. I was looking for a wife for you, son. Daniel let out a tired laugh. Mom, do not start. It is enough that the whole family pushes me toward Victoria Collins at every dinner. They say she comes from a good family, knows how to host people, and that there is no one else like her. Victoria is exactly who I wanted to talk about. Evelyn held the cup in her hands and lowered her voice. Look, Daniel. One day I will die. Mom, do not talk that way. It is the truth, do not make that face. I am 81, and even stairs are becoming a battle for my heart. Before I go, The only thing I ask God is not to leave you alone in this enormous house, surrounded by people who love you for what you have. I am not alone. You are completely alone, son, and you know it. Your whole life, people have tried to marry you off. And I am terrified that you will end up with one of those hunters who smile at you during dinner and keep you trapped in coldness for the rest of your life. Victoria is not like that, Daniel said, though without much conviction. Maybe she is not. Maybe she is. I will not judge her on an old woman's hunch. Evelyn leaned forward. That is why I did my test. Your grandmother taught it to me 60 years ago. Do you want to know what someone is truly like? Do not watch how they treat people who can give them something in return. Even the most miserable person can pretend in front of someone useful. Watch how they treat someone who cannot repay them, an elderly person, someone poor, someone unable to help them rise. There is no performance that matters there, because nobody pretends for someone they believe is useless. She tapped the arm of her chair with one finger. That is why I dressed as if I had nothing. I wanted to become, for a few hours, someone useful to no one and see who could still see me. Daniel stayed silent. Suddenly, he understood everything. I went to 4 places, son. In the first, they ignored me as if I were a statue. In the second, a well-dressed woman shoved me aside with her handbag so she could reach the register first, as if I were furniture. In the third, a waiter told me directly that they did not welcome anyone who could not afford a meal. And in the fourth, your restaurant, your floor manager tried to throw me out. Evelyn paused for a long time. Then, when I was already leaving, when I was about to surrender and believe that the whole world had gone blind, a young woman put down what she was carrying and came to offer me her hand. Evelyn's voice broke only slightly. One time, Daniel. Only one time did someone offer a hand to a poor old woman who did not even have enough for bus fare. She matched her steps to mine. She broke my bread into pieces without me asking because she saw that my hands could not manage hard bread. She made sure lunch would not cost me too much. She recommended the cheapest soup so I could afford it. And when I left, she offered me her hand again and fixed my sweater on my shoulders the way my mother did when I was a little girl. Mom. Let me finish. It took me a lifetime to understand something. That girl did not know I was your mother. She had nothing to gain from me. Nothing. Yet she treated me like a queen. Do you know what that is, son? You cannot buy it. You cannot fake it. It is who a person is when they believe no one is watching. I saw her too, Mom, Daniel said quietly. I saw everything from the kitchen. I know. I saw your face. Evelyn smiled again. That is why I called you. I went out looking for a wife for you with my little test, and a stranger who was not even taking part in anything gave me the answer. And you were smitten. Do not deny it. I brought you into this world, I can see it. I was not smitten, Mom. You were practically drooling. Tell me one thing, Daniel. When was the last time a woman gave you something without wanting anything in return? Daniel opened his mouth and closed it again. The answer was never. You see. That is why. And her name is Grace. Even her name suits her perfectly. I am not going to marry a stranger just because you like her. No one said you should marry her. I am not foolish, son. One good afternoon does not make a marriage. Maybe she snores. Maybe she has a bad temper. Maybe she cannot stand the habits of the grumpy old man you already are. Do not deny it. I am not a grumpy old man. You are a grumpy old man of 41, son, and I say that with all my love. Evelyn raised her cane toward him. Do you remember the girl from the Parker family, the one you liked 5 years ago? What does that have to do with anything? Why did you leave her? Because her father began talking to me about investing money in one of his businesses. I understood what they wanted. Did you understand it, or did you choose to believe it? Maybe her father was greedy and she had nothing to do with it. But you measured her with her father's ruler and condemned her without allowing her to speak. Evelyn pointed a finger at him. You do that with everyone, Daniel. You measure people with a ruler made of fear before you let them show you who they are. I am asking you for only one thing. Get to know Grace without that ruler, just once. And if the family disapproves? Daniel asked. As soon as he said it, he heard himself sounding like a complaining child. A waitress. Let them talk. Let them talk as much as they please. Evelyn struck the floor once with her cane. I endured people saying that your father married me, the daughter of a baker who had nowhere to fall dead. They said it for years, son. And now look at them. They end up sitting at the tables of the people they once looked down on. Do not fear people's tongues. Fear being left alone because you were too afraid to love. Daniel fell silent as he looked at that small, stubborn woman who, at 81, still understood better than he did what was worth fighting for. Victoria Collins found out before anyone else. Not because someone wanted to tell her the story out of spite, but because she had spent months paying close attention to everything around Daniel Bennett. And people who listen that closely always learn everything in the end. She learned that Evelyn had gone to the restaurant in disguise. She learned that Daniel had asked for the name of a waitress. She learned that Evelyn herself had invited that waitress to tea at the Bennett family home. Her blood ran cold. Victoria was not a snake, although it was easy to imagine her as one. She was a 38-year-old woman trapped in a fear that no one in her circle dared to say aloud. She came from a family with an impeccable last name and very little money, the kind of family that keeps silverware but cannot afford to polish it. Her father had gone bankrupt and died, leaving behind a mortgaged house and one silent instruction: survive. That morning, before leaving, she heard the same thing from her mother over breakfast. Victoria, darling, have you made any progress with Daniel? I am working on it, Mom. What do you mean, you are working on it? You have been working on it for a year. Has he said anything? Has he talked about the future? These things cannot be forced. We have to be patient. Patient. Her mother set down her cup. I do not have patience, Victoria. We have debts, we have this house collapsing on top of us, and you are 38, not 15. You do not need to remind me of that every day. I remind you because nobody else will say it to you with love. There is no other man like Daniel in this whole city, and you are no longer at an age to wait. Do you hear me? You are no longer at an age to wait. I hear you, Mom. I always hear you. Then move. Because if it is not Daniel, tell me what will become of us, of this house, and of your mother when I cannot even stand up anymore. Victoria did not answer. There was no answer. She did not love Daniel. She barely knew him. But he was the rope from which everything she believed herself to be was hanging. The family name, the house, her mother's rescue, the proof that she would not end up with nothing. Losing him did not mean losing a man. It meant losing the only life she had been prepared to live. That was why she appeared in Daniel's office without warning, impeccably dressed and wearing a perfect smile with a knife hidden inside every sentence. Your mother's story moved me deeply, she said as she sat down elegantly. That kind of attachment to an employee is understandable in older people. They grow fond of whoever pampers them. My mother is perfectly clear-minded, Victoria. I am not saying she is not, heaven forbid. I am only saying that it is understandable. An older lady alone, an attentive young woman, anyone could become attached. She crossed her legs. The only thing that would make me sad, Daniel, is if someone took advantage of that affection. What are you implying? Nothing bad, I swear. I am saying it as a friend. You know how it works. A simple girl sees an unmarried owner, sees a wealthy lady who spoils her, and suddenly becomes the sweetest, most helpful person in the world. I do not judge her. Anyone in her place might do the same. It is a huge opportunity. Or perhaps she is simply a good person.
Victoria smiled.
Or perhaps she understood the situation faster than you think. You and I know this world, Daniel. We know how to tell affection from self-interest, do we not? It was subtle poison. It was the same argument that had poisoned Daniel's life, the belief that nobody in his world loved without calculation. And Victoria was using it against the only act of uncalculated kindness he had seen in years. For one unpleasant moment, Daniel doubted. Thank you for your concern, Victoria, he said coldly. I will keep it in mind. That is what friends are for. She stood, picked up her handbag, and dropped one final sentence before leaving. I only ask one thing. Do not open the doors of your home to anyone before you know what they're made of. You, more than anyone, know what it costs when people try to deceive you. Then she left, convinced that she had planted exactly the right doubt. She had. The doubt remained inside Daniel and began to gnaw at him. What if Grace had seen him from the kitchen, understood who he was, and performed the scene of the outstretched hand and the broken bread in order to trap him. The question tormented him because it threatened to destroy the only pure thing that had happened to him in many years. A few days later, that doubt led him to make a mistake that almost cost him everything. He called Grace into his office. He did not explain why. He said nothing about his mother or the test. He only held out an envelope. Inside was far more money than Grace earned in 2 years. "It is a token of appreciation," he said without looking her in the eyes, hiding behind the professional tone he used when he did not want to feel anything. "For the way you treated that special customer a few days ago. The lady with the cane turned out to be someone important to me. Take it. You deserve it." He used the words "you deserve it," the way someone speaks to a person being paid for a service, turning an impulse from the heart into a transaction. Deep down, Daniel was testing Grace just as his mother had tested her, but in reverse and from a place of fear. If she accepted the money, Victoria would be right and he could stop feeling what he felt. And that was exactly what terrified him most. Grace looked at the envelope. Then she looked at the money. Daniel felt his stomach drop when he saw that she understood exactly how much was inside and what it meant to a woman who rented a shared room. Grace closed the envelope and handed it back to him. "No, sir," she said, pushing it toward him with 2 fingers, as though moving something that burned. "I did not offer that lady my hand for money, and I will not accept this now. Take it. It is a lot of money. It would help you." "Of course it would help me. It would help me more than you know. I will not lie to you." "Then take it. Do not be proud." "It is not pride, sir." Grace's voice trembled, but she did not lower it. "With that money, I could pay for a whole year of medical care for my mother. I could stop living in a shared room. You have no idea what this envelope means to me. That is why it hurts so much to give it back." "Then why are you giving it back?" "Because if I accept this envelope, what I did for your lady becomes something that can be paid for. And it was not." She swallowed hard. "I gave that old woman my hand because she reminded me of my grandmother. May she rest in peace." "I do not understand you, Grace." "You will. Once, they made my grandmother sit for 3 hours on a bench in the clinic in our small town, waiting for her turn. They let people who had arrived later go first simply because they were better dressed. 3 hours, sir, with her rheumatism. And not one person offered her even a glass of water. I was 9 years old and I was with her. I held her hand, and I could do nothing else but hold it." Daniel did not say a word. Grace continued. "From that day on, I made myself a promise. As long as I have these 2 hands, no elderly woman will stand alone in a line while I am nearby. It is not charity, sir. It is a promise. And promises are not for sale." The office fell silent. Grace's eyes filled with tears, but they were not tears of defeat. They were tears of outrage. "Keep your money and let me tell you something, even if you fire me for it." "Say it." "You have offended me. You offend me when you think I can be bought. I may be poor, sir, but my kindness is not for sale. If you called me here to see whether I would accept an envelope and decide whether I am one of those women who come close for selfish reasons, then you understood nothing about what you saw that day. Nothing." Her chin trembled, but she did not try to hide it. She pushed the envelope a few inches closer to him, turned, and walked toward the door. "Wait," Daniel said. The word came out broken, unrecognizable in the mouth of a businessman. Grace stopped without turning around. "You are right. I understood nothing. Forgive me." "Why, sir? You are the owner. You can think whatever you want about me."
No.
"And that is exactly what I have just understood." Daniel ran a hand over his face. "My whole life, I have been surrounded by people who come close because of what I have. My whole life, Grace. So much that I forgot how to recognize someone who comes close wanting nothing. I forgot that such people even existed. And when I saw you offer your hand to that woman without knowing who she was, I could not believe it. I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Of believing in it and discovering that it was a lie. That is why I brought you the money. Not to insult you, but to protect myself. And I ended up doing the exact opposite. Well, it went very badly, sir. With all due respect." "I know." Grace drew a deep breath. "Do you know what hurt me the most? For 1 second, you almost made me doubt myself. I thought, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe he saw a price in me. I forgive you for that because I know who I am, sir. It is the only thing I am completely sure about in this life. You are right. You are right again. Grace turned around slowly. Who was that lady? You said she mattered to you. Daniel looked at her and decided that, after so much hiding, he would tell the truth without calculation. She was my mother. Your mother? Grace's eyes widened. The lady in the patched sweater was your mother? My God. I recommended the cheapest soup because I thought she could not afford anything else. I told her not to spend money. She covered her face with her hands. I thought she was an old woman alone. You treated her like a queen, Daniel said. And that is exactly what you did. I do not understand. My mother dressed that way on purpose. She wanted to see how people treat an elderly woman they believe they can get nothing from. It was her test. In the entire restaurant and along the entire street, you were the only person who passed it without knowing there was a test. According to my mother, that is the only true way to pass it. Grace silently put the pieces together. May God repay you for the other thing, she whispered. That is what she told me at the door, and I did not understand. That is why she said it. My mother has been talking about you for days, Grace. And so have I, though I have not told anyone. Because that day, while I watched you from the kitchen, I felt something I had not felt for years. I did not even know what to call it. Daniel swallowed. Today I brought that envelope out of cowardice. But what I really wanted to tell you is this. Daniel Bennett, owner of the Oak and a man accustomed to living behind armor, said the words that had been the true reason for everything. I did not fall in love with you because of how you treated me. I fell in love with you because of how you treated my mother when you believed she was nobody. Grace did not answer that day. Everything inside her was trembling. She had learned not to trust what comes too easily, and she walked out of the office with her heart tied in knots. She said neither yes nor no. But she did something simpler and truer. On Sunday, she returned to have tea with Evelyn. I am so glad you came, dear, Evelyn said when she saw Grace enter the living room. I thought you might have run away out of embarrassment. I do not abandon anyone because I am embarrassed, although I am truly embarrassed right now. Why? Because I recommended the cheapest soup to you when you own all of this. Evelyn laughed. That soup was the best recommendation anyone has ever given me. Grace, sit beside me and call me Evelyn. I have asked you twice already. It is difficult for me, Then you will have to get used to it. Come on, pour yourself some tea. Evelyn moved the sugar bowl closer. Tell me about your mother. What does she sell by the school? Oh, my mother. She is the hardest working woman I know. She raised 4 children on her own, selling homemade rolls outside the school, rain or shine. My father left when I was 6, Evelyn. I do not blame him. I do not even remember his face anymore. My grandmother took care of me while my mother worked. Your grandmother? The one with the cane made from a broom handle. Grace smiled in surprise. The same one. You remember that. I never forget what matters, dear. I loved her with my whole soul. I treat older people the way I do because of her. I promised her that when I was a child. I know, Evelyn answered very softly as she poured more tea and caressed Grace's hand. I know better than anyone. But Victoria Collins had no intention of giving up without a fight. That same Sunday, she appeared at the Bennett house without an invitation, dressed for a celebration, carrying flowers for Evelyn and wearing a smile as sharp as a blade. She wanted to humiliate Grace in front of the family and make her feel out of place. She entered the living room, where Daniel, Evelyn, and Grace were having tea, and began her quiet work. What a charming gathering, she said, looking Grace up and down. Grace, is it? Such a simple name. Tell me, dear, what does your family do? My mother sells homemade rolls near a school, Miss Collins, and I am a waitress. Ah, a waitress. How charming. Victoria let out a laugh as bright as it was empty. Evelyn, how generous of you to welcome an employee into your own living room like this. No one performs such refined acts of charity anymore. Evelyn looked at her with icy calm. Who invited you to tea, Victoria? No one, Evelyn. I was passing by and wanted to bring you these flowers. I did not know I would interrupt something so intimate. Yes, you are interrupting. But since you are here, sit down and learn. Then something happened that Victoria had not calculated. Evelyn rose from her armchair to pour more tea. She leaned carefully on her cane, but it slipped on the polished floor. It was only a small stumble, one of those tiny missteps that happen to older people. But at 81, a stumble can become a fall can become a broken bone, and a broken bone at that age can sometimes be the beginning of the end. Victoria, who was closest, took a step back. It was a reflex, the body of someone who does not want to be caught up in another person's problem. She moved the flowers aside and stepped out of the way. Grace did not think. She did not calculate. She did not look to see who was watching. Her cup fell and shattered on the floor, but she did not even hear it. She crossed the room in 3 steps and caught Evelyn before the floor could. She held her with both hands, with the steady strength of someone used to caring for others. She caught the cane in midair as it rolled away, retrieved it, and placed it back in Evelyn's hand. I am here. I have you. Nothing happened. Breathe. Lean on me. Do not be embarrassed. Let us sit down slowly, like this. Do not talk yet. Breathe first. Does anything hurt? Your knee. Your hip. Nothing hurts, Grace. Thanks to you. Do not thank me. That is what we are here for. I will bring you water. I am pale and angry with myself for being so helpless. You are not helpless. Your cane simply slipped. That can happen to anyone on a floor this smooth. Let me fix the pillow behind your back. There. Is that better? That is perfect, dear. My mother used to sit me down exactly that way. Evelyn's cane stood firmly on the floor, held by the same hand that had guided her through the restaurant. In that repeated gesture, identical and witnessed by the entire family, there was more truth than Victoria's words could ever erase. Daniel had risen sharply, his heart in his throat, but he stopped halfway across the room. He did not need to run. The woman he loved was already where he himself wished to be. Evelyn, now seated and supported by Grace, looked at Victoria, who stood a step away clutching the flowers to her chest. There was no hatred in her expression, only something close to compassion. Do you see, dear? She said in a soft, perfectly clear voice, the voice of someone who no longer has time for pretense. This is the difference. When I stumbled, you stepped back so I would not fall onto you. She ran to catch me. Evelyn, it was a reflex. That is exactly why I am telling you. It was a reflex. Neither of you thought. You both did what came from within. And what comes from within, dear, is where we see who someone truly is. Victoria went pale. She opened her mouth to defend herself, but there was no defense. The whole family had seen it. Daniel had seen it. She herself had seen it. Her own body had betrayed her in the single second when she had no time to pretend. The story could have become cruel toward Victoria, but it did not. Before she left humiliated, Evelyn motioned for her to come closer and spoke in a low voice meant only for her. Come here.
Victoria obeyed, trembling.
I understand you better than you think. I was poor once too, and I had a beautiful last name. I know what it is like to be raised to marry well because you are made to believe it is your only way out. I know the fear of being left alone, dear. I know it very well. Evelyn, please forgive me. Do not ask me for forgiveness. Do not be ashamed of being afraid. Fear is not a sin. Only be ashamed of the people you trample because of that fear. Find a man who will love you for who you are when no one is watching, and stop fighting for someone who is no longer meant for you. She patted Victoria's hand. Go in peace, and take care of yourself. Victoria left that house without the relationship she had come to defend, but with something she had not possessed when she entered, something for which she would spend years thanking Evelyn, the first person who had told her that her fear was not a sin and that she did not need to destroy anyone to save herself. She did not become good overnight. People do not change in an instant. But she left different. And sometimes that is all one can ask for. Grace, kneeling beside Evelyn, did not understand even half of what had just happened. She only knew that the older woman was all right. Are you sure you are not hurt? I could not be more sure, dear. I am better than ever. Please do not scare me like that again. I am telling you, I am better than ever. Evelyn caressed Grace's cheek with her wrinkled hand. And stop calling me m. You will call me Evelyn. If God wishes and this son of mine stops behaving like a fool, perhaps one day you will call me something else. She looked at Daniel with the same mischievous smile as always. But that is your business. I only set the table. Mom, please, Daniel said, blushing. What do you mean, please? I am too old for detours. Get down on your knees beside this girl and tell her what you need to say, because I have done my part. Daniel knelt on the other side of his mother, beside Grace, close enough that their shoulders touched. You already told me how you feel in the office, Grace whispered. I am not asking you to answer today. I am not asking for a yes or a ring. I am only asking for one thing to begin with. What thing, sir? Let me walk beside you the way you walked beside my mother, slowly, without hurry, adjusting myself to your pace. Sir, I am only a waitress. You. Let me finish. It has taken me several days to understand this. Daniel swallowed. I have never known how to adjust to anyone's pace, Grace. All my life, people have run after me because of what I have. Teach me to walk slowly. Teach me, as you taught my mother, that good people still exist. Grace looked at him for a long time. Then she looked at Evelyn, whose eyes were shining. What should I say, Say, Evelyn, whatever comes from inside you, dear. That never fails. Grace, who did not trust things that came too easily, understood that this had not come easily. It had arrived by the strangest path in the world, through a hand offered to a stranger, through cheap soup recommended from the heart, and through bread broken for old hands. It had arrived because she had been herself without knowing who was watching. She did not say yes. She said something better. She held out her free hand to Daniel, the hand that was not supporting Evelyn. All right, we will see, sir. But slowly, okay? I accompany people at their own pace. At your pace, Daniel said, taking her hand. But I have to warn you about something. What? I do not know how to live in your world. I do not know which fork belongs to which course or how to speak to people at elegant dinners. I come from diners and buses, not high society. Even better, Daniel said. High society has already exhausted me. I do not know how to live in your world either, but teach me. Are you sure? Your family will come after you. Let them. Daniel looked at his mother. Someone already told me that people who talk too much always end up eating at the table of the person they refuse to listen to. I said that, Evelyn declared proudly. And it is as true as the sun. Then she held out her hands. Now both of you help me up. The floor is hard, and I am no longer built for such strong emotions down here. All three of them laughed. Grace and Daniel raised her carefully, each taking one of her arms and moving at a pace. The old woman stood between them, supported on both sides, and the hands helping her brushed against each other over her knees. 1 month later, Grace and Daniel were married in a small wedding. Without half the guests the family would have wanted to impose on them. Evelyn walked down the aisle arm in arm with her daughter-in-law, slowly matching every step to the bride's. They moved at the same pace. Evelyn's cane tapped the floor in a slow rhythm that bothered no one anymore. As they walked together, the old woman whispered something to Grace that the young woman would remember forever. The day you gave me your hand, my daughter, you gave me more than a hand. You gave my son back to me, and you gave me the peace of knowing who I could leave him with. That is the only thing a mother wants before she leaves this world. Thank you for not knowing that I was watching you. That is why it was real. I did not do anything special, Evelyn. You did the only thing that matters, my daughter. You treated well a person who could give you nothing in return. That is rarer than gold. And if you had gone another way that day, if you had not seen me standing by the door. But you saw me. That is the point, Grace. You see people. Everyone else walked past. You turned around. And because you turned around, look at everything that happened. It scares me even to think about it. Do not be afraid of good things, my daughter. Never of that. Hold tightly to what is good, just as you held tightly to me. Evelyn adjusted Grace's veil. Now walk straight ahead. Your man is waiting for you, and a man worth having should not be made to wait too long. Grace walked slowly beside the old woman while the man who loved her waited at the end of the aisle. Then she understood that the greatest wealth in that house had never been money. It was the old woman who, before dying, had lived long enough to see with her own eyes that her son would be left in good hands. And to discover that, she had only needed to dress humbly and wait for someone to offer her a hand. Perhaps that is why this story is still told from person to person. It was not about a waitress who married a millionaire. It was about a woman who treated people just as well when she believed no one was watching as when she knew she was being watched. That, not wealth, was what a mother wanted for her son. And perhaps that is why you and I should ask ourselves, how many times have we walked past an elderly person who was only waiting for someone to offer them a hand? Tell me, from 0 to 10, how deeply did this story move you? If it touched your heart, leave a like and subscribe. I publish a new story every week. See you in the next one.